What if I told you that the most addictive app on your phone, the one that turned random teenagers into global celebrities, made cranberry juice and skateboards go viral, and low-key rewired how an entire generation thinks, wasn't even meant to be what it became? No, really. It started as a humble little news app. The guy behind it, he just wanted to build a better way to read articles. But somehow you, yes, you, end up creating a platform that outpaces Facebook, outlasts Vine, freaks out governments, and makes the entire music industry dance to your algorithm. And the best part? You didn't even set out to build TikTok. It just happened. If you're even a little curious how that accident became one of the most powerful attention machines in history without ever asking permission, then trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one, because this isn't just a startup story. This is what happens when you accidentally build the future. You're 28 years old. You live in Beijing. Your friends think you're smart, quiet smart. Not stand on a stage smart, more like build something that changes everything smart. And tonight, you're pacing across your tiny apartment floor, laptop open, eyes buzzing. Not because you've figured something out, but because you can't stop thinking about the one problem no one seems to be solving: the internet's chaos. People are drowning in content, articles, videos, cat memes, celebrity drama, political noise, and no one's actually seeing what matters to them. So you decide to fix it, not with better content, but with a better brain, an algorithm, a personalized feed that doesn't just show you what's popular, just shows you what you didn't know you wanted, yet somehow can't stop watching. You don't know it yet, but you're about to build the most addictive idea of the 21st century. Your name? Zhang Yiming. Your mission? Build a smarter internet. And for now, all you've got is a startup called ByteDance and a dream to organize content the way Google organizes pages. No followers, no clout, just code. Your first product is a news aggregator called Toutiao, Headlines. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, but it works. Because your algorithm learns what users like by watching how long they pause, what they click, what they ignore. And pretty soon, Toutiao takes off. China's mobile users fall in love with it. Investors start to notice. Your company grows fast, quietly, like a shadow on the wall. But here's where things get weird. Even as Toutiao scales, you're still restless. You keep asking yourself, what else could this algorithm do? Because if it works for articles, couldn't it work for videos too? Short ones, mobile first, something that moves as fast as people scroll. You're not dreaming about TikTok yet. You're dreaming about what happens when content finds you before you find it. And that, right there, is the moment it all begins. It's 2012. You're not a tech god. You're not a Silicon Valley darling. You're just a guy with a degree, a knack for code, and a gut feeling that the internet is broken in a very specific way. You don't want to make another social app. You want to make something smarter. So you rent a modest office in Beijing, gather a tiny crew of engineers, and give your project a name, ByteDance. Why? Because you like the idea of information moving rhythmically, like a dance of data. And your first real move? Not video, not music, but news. You launch an app called Toutiao, which literally means headlines. Not flashy, not viral, but functional. It doesn't have editors. It doesn't need trending hashtags. Instead, it learns. You build an algorithm that watches every tap, every scroll, every pause. And then it predicts what a user wants to read next, sometimes before even they know it. No two feeds are alike. No two users experience the same internet. It's personalized information, on demand, and it's shockingly effective. Within months, user retention spikes. By year one, you're not a guy in an apartment anymore. You're running one of the fastest growing tech startups in China. But here's the thing, you're not satisfied, because while Toutiao is doing great, you can feel a shift. People are reading less, watching more. They're glued to short clips, memes, 10-second laughs, and viral stunts. Text is getting stale, video is eating the internet. And you're already thinking 10 steps ahead. You start sketching something new. A mobile-first, video-first platform. Something with the same brain as Toutiao, just tuned for motion, music, and micro moments. You don't call it TikTok yet, you call it Douyin, and it's about to change your life. The year is 2016. You've built a successful news empire. Toutiao is killing it in China. Your investors are smiling, your servers are holding. But you're bored. Because somewhere between your 15th meeting of the week and another chart proving how good your algorithm is at predicting what people like to read, you realize something dangerous. This isn't what the future looks like. Reading is static, video is alive. People don't want to scroll through headlines, they want to feel something, instantly. They want a hit of dopamine, not a paragraph. And more importantly, they don't want to search for it. They want it delivered to them, automatically. So, you make a bet, a weird one. You greenlight a skunkworks team, you lock them in a room and tell them, build me a video app that moves as fast as the algorithm thinks. No follow accounts, no friend networks, just you, the content, and the scroll. It launches under the name Douyin. The interface is clean, full screen, one video at a time, vertical only. Swipe down and you get another, and another, and another. The moment someone pauses on a clip for just a little too long, the system notices. That's the magic. And the users, at first, they're confused. But then, something wild happens. People start posting. Not polished content, not movie quality, just raw, goofy, short clips. Teens lip-syncing, grandmas dancing, street food vendors singing their menus. And somehow, all of it works. Because it's not about the content itself. It's about the feeling it creates, the discovery, the randomness, the micro hit of joy. And Douyin, it doesn't just surface viral content, it creates it. Within a year, it's not just an app, it's a reflex. People open it while brushing their teeth, while waiting for the bus, while pretending to listen on Zoom. And that's when it hits you. We didn't build a social network, we built an attention engine. You're still Zhang Yiming, still quiet, still thinking, but now you're sitting on something dangerous, something explosive, and somewhere in your head, you're already asking, what if we took this global?
The leaving Kulturmjent. Ja, is om in your rose have guard come sees don't wing it time to forshi times. Ofte to gav so was his fiat. And an organ is fiat. Curryism at tors, to this opposed the money, is more believed on the differentials or sea leaves. Which does the way that is most possibles probably find is one of the futu, the post that as what's video funcstigated. It is also per difficult. I just a walk on home, use finding, taking, mun taking. Everything extracting decisions isn't categorized. The believer is giving the show shares of by family that you may have lasts and easy if you in place. You're working and ours man, believer is giving, importantly 1060 cents. The lever is recorded and a climp sign and rusa. So if you see that believer is giving distracting and see right in Sui team, using finally the places are places in foxes are for, use focus ASCII, your art soon girls, and obviously that was a bit of spork speaking, uncompleted zeverenchi intentionous, you merge it. The fine is for team prize and you working and a text app on in down is believers. If you're short school here in Quishate, you find having whom is called you're in the pass, including transporting, including non-slating, and luffing is your responsive by amization, and weaking how large that they saw tiled in force, and the late term by sort the anization with ask past las, who's a caller, the econ, and tus cap to ni u or ne is possibly TikTok. She was nothing inciting. Do you see that? Here's where your genius really starts to scare people. Not because you're evil, not because you're plotting world domination, but because you understand attention better than anyone else alive. TikTok isn't just a video platform, it's a behavioral mirror.
One that reflects what people actually want, not what they say they want. And at the core of that mirror, an algorithm so powerful, so precise, that even people in Silicon Valley start to sweat. You built it around one principle: interest over identity. No follow account needed, no friend groups, no you have to build an audience to be seen. If your video's good, even for 2 seconds, it gets tested, watched, measured, judged. And if it performs, it spreads fast. Every video on TikTok is born with a shot at greatness. No other platform works like that. Not YouTube, not Instagram, not Twitter. On TikTok, the algorithm is the star maker, and it doesn't care who you are. You're not creating content for followers. You're creating content for the machine, and the machine is hungry. It learns what people engage with in milliseconds, not just what they tap, but how long they watch, where their thumb hesitates, what sound grabs them, what visual makes their pupils dilate a split second longer. Some call it revolutionary, some call it exploitative, but no matter what they call it, it works. Studies show TikTok's algorithm keeps users engaged longer than any other major social app. And more than that, it rewires how creators think. Now, videos aren't built for personality, they're built for performance. Every frame is a hook, every beat matters. You don't watch TikTok, you submit to it. And here's the part that freaks the rest of the industry out. Your algorithm doesn't just respond to culture, it shapes it. It doesn't wait for trends, it creates them. It doesn't ask who's famous, it decides who's next. And suddenly, everyone's chasing you. Instagram copies your vertical format. YouTube creates shorts. Snapchat gets louder. Even LinkedIn starts experimenting with TikTok-style clips. But they're not you, because you're not just a platform. You're the one who figured out the secret. If you want to control the future, control the feed.
One morning, you open the app dashboard, and something weird catches your eye. It's not a bug. It's a guy on a skateboard, gliding down a street, sipping cranberry juice straight from the bottle, lip-syncing to Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. No fancy editing, no cuts, no filters. But the numbers, off the charts. Millions of views overnight, then tens of millions. What just happened? You didn't plan this, you didn't pay for this, and yet somehow a guy filming himself on a skateboard has done more for your brand than any marketing department on earth ever could. That's when it hits you. TikTok isn't just a platform anymore, it's a cultural engine. You've created a system where anyone, at any time, can become a moment, not just famous, relevant. And with that relevancy comes influence. Songs blow up because someone used them in a dance. Old hits from the 70s climb the charts again. Fashion trends resurrect. Political opinions spread. Social commentary goes viral, not in essays, but in 15-second sketches. TikTok becomes the place where internet culture starts. And here's the beautiful, terrifying part. You didn't script any of it. You didn't decide what would trend. You just built a machine that listens really, really well. Creators start shaping content around your algorithm. They study it like it's a language. They know what beats work, what expressions land, what video lengths optimize engagement. It becomes a new kind of art form, fast, iterative, clever, built not for galleries or film festivals, but for the feed. And it's not just teams in bedrooms anymore. Brands want in, politicians want in, doctors, lawyers, therapists, chefs, comedians, all trying to crack the TikTok code. Suddenly, being on TikTok isn't optional, it's strategy. If you're a musician, you pray for a TikTok blow-up. If you're a small business, you dream of being accidentally discovered through a video of someone trying your product. If you're a creator, it's the only platform where your first video might be the one that makes you famous. And all of that came from one design choice you made. The algorithm leads, the user follows. It's not the influencer era anymore. It's the moment era. And you built the moment machine. Then comes the storm. You wake up to headlines. India bans TikTok. No warning, no negotiation, just gone. 200 million users erased overnight. TikTok disappears from app stores. Existing users can't refresh their feeds. Influencers lose careers in a blink. Your regional team scrambles. Your legal team stares in disbelief. You just sit there, blinking at the dashboard like someone yanked a power cord out of the internet. It's not about a content violation. It's not about moderation failure. It's about politics. India bans TikTok alongside dozens of other Chinese apps in response to a border clash with China.
It's not business, it's nationalism. You realize something chilling. TikTok isn't just a tech company anymore. It's a geopolitical pawn. And the pressure doesn't stop there. Within months, you're on the radar of the White House. Security concerns erupt. Reporters shout about data harvesting. Pundits compare TikTok to digital espionage, even though your data sits on US servers. Even though Facebook and Google collect just as much, if not more. But the difference? You're not American. The US government starts floating the idea of a ban. Then President Trump goes on national television and says TikTok has 45 days to sell to an American buyer or be shut down. That's not a negotiation, that's a countdown. And suddenly, you're in survival mode. The company is too big to hide, too visible to be protected. You start spinning up a legal defense, PR counter moves, diplomacy outreach. You open discussions with Microsoft, then Oracle, then Walmart. Yes, Walmart. At one point, it looks like you're about to be chopped up and sold like a yard sale app. Internally, people panic. Externally, users rally. Creators post goodbye videos. Teenagers flood the App Store with 5-star reviews. Gen Z becomes your most unexpected line of defense. And behind the scenes, you push a new initiative, Project Texas, a plan to move all US user data to American servers with strict oversight. But the truth is, you can't code your way out of this one. This isn't a bug, it's the cost of becoming a global power. Because you didn't just build an app, you built a new kind of influence, and the world doesn't know how to deal with that.
Here's the part nobody really talks about. When people think of TikTok, they picture the surface, dances, memes, cooking hacks, goofy lip syncs, cats wearing sunglasses, the shiny, chaotic scroll of internet serotonin. But you see something else. You see pressure. You see the cost of keeping it all running. Because behind every viral moment is an invisible machine, one you have to keep tuned, monitored, and, more often than not, defended. It's the gap between how users experience TikTok and what you actually manage. Out front, it's just fun. Behind the curtain, it's endless moderation queues, thousands of employees reviewing content, sometimes hour by hour, second by second. Every day the system flags millions of videos, some violating guidelines, some walking the line, some too disturbing to describe. You've created a platform where anyone can go viral, but that means anyone can go viral. The good, the bad, and the seriously dangerous. You try to keep up, you publish transparency reports, you implement safety filters, you set teen time limits. You even pause autoplay in some regions at night, hoping users might go to sleep. But the truth is, the machine never stops, and neither do the questions. What do you do when misinformation spreads faster than corrections? When a dance trend starts off wholesome and ends in lawsuits? When your algorithm accidentally feeds toxic content to vulnerable users? You sit in meetings where people show heat maps of user behavior, where ethics officers argue with product leads, where governments demand new rules every quarter. Because now, you're not just running an app. You're managing a global, cultural ecosystem with billions of variables. TikTok isn't just an entertainment platform anymore. It's an amplifier, a pressure cooker, a mirror of everything online, and sometimes everything wrong. And that mirror gets pointed right back at you. Critics accuse you of addictiveness, of harming mental health, of radicalizing users with algorithmic echo chambers. You didn't intend to build a weapon. You just wanted to make content feel magical. But success at this scale doesn't care about intentions. It demands maintenance. It demands restraint. It demands decisions that are less about growth and more about containment. And now, every time the feed refreshes, you know there's a team somewhere watching the consequences ripple out, hoping the next video isn't the one that cracks everything open. Because TikTok is fun, but keeping it fun, that's the hardest part. Imagine this. You're sitting alone in a glass-walled conference room high above Beijing's skyline. It's quiet. Too quiet. On the table in front of you are 3 documents. One for potential IPO filings, one for a revised content moderation strategy, and one that just says, Algorithm Transparency Draft. You stare at them, then glance up at the reflection in the window. You don't look like a villain. You don't feel like a hero. You feel like someone who opened a door and now can't decide whether to step through or close it forever. Because here's your new reality. The world is asking you to decide how culture behaves online. Governments want accountability, parents want safety, creators want growth, investors want expansion. Users, they just want to keep scrolling. And you want to do the right thing. But what even is that at this scale? If you tighten content controls, you risk killing the magic. If you open the algorithm, you risk competitors copying it and regulators misinterpreting it. If you lean into US compliance, you might alienate users in other regions. Every choice has a cost. Every improvement has a consequence. Every silence gets filled by speculation. You once said, "I'm not a product person, I'm a strategy person." But now product is strategy, ethics is product. And every time someone opens TikTok, they're opening your vision of the internet. So let's say it plainly. Right now, the next decision is yours. Not fictional, not theoretical. You are sitting at that table, pen in hand, eyes on the future. Do you go public, open the books, and embrace global scrutiny? Do you redesign the algorithm to be explainable, even if it means it's less effective? Do you put safety ahead of virality? Or do you stay the course? After all, what got you here worked insanely well. But you're no longer a startup founder. You're the architect of a global attention system. And with great attention comes unbearable pressure. So what do you do next?
Let's pause for a second. Because if we're being honest, none of this was the plan. You weren't trying to become the face of internet controversy. You didn't set out to build a platform that entire governments now treat like a diplomatic threat. You just wanted to make digital content feel smarter. But somehow, you turned smarter into something way, way bigger. And now, you kind of miss being invisible. Back then, you were just a guy working late nights in a quiet apartment, drinking lukewarm tea, wearing the same hoodie 3 days in a row, hoping your news app didn't crash when it hit 10,000 users. You weren't giving interviews, you weren't hiring compliance officers, you weren't getting phone calls from the US Senate. There was no TikTok ban trending on Twitter. No viral think pieces asking, "Is this app destroying Gen Z?" No comedians doing late-night sketches about you on American TV. You were building. Now you're defending. And it's exhausting. Every feature rollout feels like a geopolitical chess move. Every patch note is dissected like it's a manifesto. Every silence is interpreted as proof of guilt. And worst of all, the louder the world gets, the harder it is to hear yourself think. Sometimes, deep down, you wonder, was it worth it? Not the success, that's obvious, but the spotlight, the pressure, the constant scrutiny. Because while everyone else sees a fun little app filled with dances and pranks, you see a code base that never sleeps, a moderation team burning out, a political machine that's one bad headline from meltdown, a platform too fast, too big, too important to pause. And yet, despite everything, you still believe in it. You still believe that a kid in a rural town making a funny video deserves a shot at being seen. You still believe that creativity doesn't need permission. You still believe that this thing you built, this wild, chaotic, glorious feed of humanity, matters. So you breathe, you shut the laptop, you sip your tea, and for just one moment, you let yourself laugh. Because yeah, none of this was the plan. But it sure as hell turned into one hell of a story. For a second. You started with nothing but an idea. What if content could find people before they even knew they wanted it? That idea became an algorithm. That algorithm became an app. That app became a reflex. And that reflex became a revolution. From Toutiao to Douyin. From Musical.ly to TikTok. From your bedroom office in Beijing to the most downloaded app on earth. You didn't just ride a trend, you built the trend engine. The engine that changed how people consume, create, communicate. Think about it. You gave a teenager in Atlanta the same broadcasting power as a Hollywood studio. You turned a Filipino street vendor into a local celebrity. You revived 40-year-old songs and made them chart again. You redefined what it means to be famous, funny, seen. You collapsed the gap between amateur and viral, between niche and mainstream, between moment and movement. And all of it happened because you believed that attention was the most valuable currency of the digital age. You just figured out how to mint it faster than anyone else. But you also learned that success is messy, that scale makes things weird, that once you build a mirror big enough to reflect the world, you don't always like what stares back. Still, you kept going. You iterated, adapted, defended, survived. And in the process, you reshaped the internet, not just for users, but for every platform chasing your shadow. You didn't just build TikTok, you rewrote the script for what modern media is. And while people are still debating whether that's a good thing, one thing's for sure. You proved it could be done.
So now that you've lived it, every twist, every triumph, every caffeine-fueled algorithm tweak, what do you do with it? Do you file it away as a wild business case? Do you shake your head and say, man, that escalated quickly? Or maybe you let it sit with you a little longer? Because here's the thing. This isn't just a story about technology. It's about timing, about the kind of cultural alchemy that only happens when curiosity meets code at scale. And if you've made it this far into the story, you're probably the kind of person who thinks a little deeper. Maybe you're building your own thing. Maybe you're studying how this all works. Maybe you just love a good, ridiculous origin story to unwind with after work. Whatever brought you here, whether it's study mode, work mode, focus mode, or bedtime brain fade, you now know how TikTok became the planet's biggest digital accident. And if that kind of wild, unpredictable, real-world storytelling is your vibe, you're in the right place. Because this channel is full of stories just like this, built for people who want something smarter than background noise, but chill enough to fall asleep to. So, hey, whether you're sipping coffee at your desk, trying to concentrate, or curled up in bed scrolling through your last 5 minutes of the day, stick around, hit that subscribe button, and come watch the full video when you're ready to hear the whole ride from start to surreal. And now, exhale. Because whether you're pacing through an all-nighter, halfway through a focus session, or lying in bed hoping to trick your brain into sleep, this story just landed. Let it settle. You've been Jang Yiming for the last hour. You built ByteDance, you launched Douyin, you acquired Musical.ly, you crossed oceans with TikTok, you faced bans, praise, backlash, and billions of swipes. You didn't just start a company, you started a ripple that turned into waves, flooding culture, media, politics, music, even language. You turned a swipe into a behavior, a song snippet into a global meme, a 15-second clip into a movement. And now you can put it all down. Close the metaphorical laptop, let the screen dim. The story's told, the feed can wait. And you just rode the wave from idea to empire. So breathe a little slower. Let your thoughts drift somewhere soft. The lights are low, the screen's fading. You made it to the end. Good night, founder.